Today's day and age is so complex and fast moving that I feel like a lot of people are feeling a lot of stress to be able to keep up with everybody else. But that's really not the name of the game here. I mean, everybody is pushing for productivity this, productivity that. Even am a proponent of productivity, but when does productivity end? At a certain point, if you're trying to juggle all these different these things in your life, for instance, the gym, maybe you have a kid, maybe you have two jobs, for instance, like I do, or other things like that, it can be very difficult to balance everything without feeling burnout. So today I'm going to be discussing how you can juggle all these different things, how you can balance your life without completely feeling burnt out. And I think that ultimately an intense feeling of burnout can be eliminated, but there is inevitably going to be some sort of burnout throughout your life. So having the tools and learning the tools to be able to deal with burnout when you're starting to feel it is a tremendous ability to own. Burnout is essentially feeling exhausted, irritable, having chronic stress, and just generally feeling overwhelmed and sluggish when it comes to things that used to invigorate you and give you energy. So, whether it be in the workplace, so an occupational burnout, or parenting burnout, or exercise induced, whatever it may be, there are so many different types of burnout. It all basically comes down to you not feeling that same vigor and intensity and drive and love for life that you previously did. It's a feeling that you almost cannot escape from when you are experiencing it. Burnout can be an awful feeling, especially when it zaps all of your motivation for things that you used to love to do. And it can really create a wrench in your plans. I mean, if you had certain plans to pursue something, for instance, maybe you're trying to learn to play a musical instrument and you play it every single day for hours and hours and hours. Eventually, if you don't give yourself a break, you are most likely going to hit a wall, which is going to be your burnout state. And without the proper tools, like for instance, taking some time off from doing said activity, you can lose all interest and motivation in this. I historically am a pro at getting burnt out. Throughout my early years, I would often pick up a hobby or a new passion and just focus on it intensively for a few months and then never seek it or pursue it again. So over the years, I have learned balance. Most recently, I have felt a burnout like this when I picked up the hobby of photography. I basically lived and breathed photography for a year and a half to 2 years. Got to the point where most of my free time was allocated to learning photography, and then a lot of my other time was allocated to going out and shooting and editing, and I'd spend 20 minutes on one photo. And over time, while I loved photography and I really had a passion for it, I became burnt out, and till this day I have not been able to have the same passion and interest in photography that I once did. And in my life currently, I have a lot of occupational burnout that I have been experiencing through. I'm working two jobs as long as wanting to pursue this, and I think that it's easy to get into the mindset of, oh, I'll just keep tacking on this. I'll manage my time a little bit differently. I'll shift this item to later in the day, or I'll do X, Y, and Z. Or I'll take, one day off here, and having that mindset of you can do it all is great, and it's very confidence boosting, and it feels good in the short term. But I'm telling you, in the long term, it can have some serious detriments, like ultimately feeling burnt out at the end of the road. I mean, you can't be lighting the candle from both ends for too long without a little bit of a break. So personally, what I find is just taking off like a week or even a few days, getting out of town, getting your mind off of it. And what's important here is that when you are taking this time off, you really take it off. For instance, if I take off time like this, I have a whole morning routine and night routine and stuff like that. I'll skip all that and just try and mentally check out from this, tell myself I'll get back to it after I take a little bit of time for myself to recharge. It is really important to give yourself a break, because if you're constantly working and constantly doing productivity enhancing things, then you are ultimately going to reach your breaking point. Now, everybody's breaking point is different. Some people just have a higher work capacity, and I do believe that this can be easily trained over time. My work capacity used to be very slim, and now it's very large. But everybody does have that breaking point after so many hours. Beyond simply taking some time away from your everyday tasks and just trying to recharge by separating yourself from everything else, there are other ways to manage burnout. For instance, including some sort of recovery activities to recuperate and recharge can be very, very helpful. For instance, meditation can go a long way. Just making sure that your sleep is on point and your nutrition is on point and you're exercising and doing some breath work, or these are all really standard and obvious choices, but if you have something that really relaxes you and can just kind of help you take a step back, for me, but beyond the things that I previously mentioned, that I just mentioned, I do like watching a movie or a TV show and just kind of checking out. Now, this is all great as long as it doesn't override your life. You don't want to be indulging in too much of that, because when you're too sedentary, then you're just going to have a whole host of other issues arise from that. Now, you may be different. You might just like, a hot bath with some candles. Maybe you want a little bit of wine or something like that. I don't know. Everybody's different, but consider some sort of recovery activities that you can implement into your daily routine that will help you manage the other aspects of your life and prevent burnout in the long term. Then seeking professional help could be a good idea, but before I would do that, I'd consider just simply tapering back on your workload. For instance, if you are working 2 jobs, maybe consider cutting back to 1 and finding other ways to supplement the income. Or if you are overtraining in the gym, consider going from maybe like 6 days a week to 4 days a week for a while. It doesn't have to be permanent, but doing it for a little bit, it may be a good idea. And then, if that's not possible, if there's no way that you can reduce your workload or anything like that, then seeking therapy, seeking professional help could be a good, and this doesn't have to be a last ditch option, but it can be a good like fallback if you need it. You know what I mean? But in all honesty, the real tried and true way to manage burnout is to prevent it altogether. So try and just learn and know yourself, and you'll get this, you'll understand this over time, just over having years of experience of adding things to your plate and subtracting things from your plate. Try and not overload yourself if you know that it's going to end in disaster. Now, I know that this is easier said than done. It is very easy to just think, oh, I can do it all and I can add this and that and the other. But just remember that you are human. I mean, Not everybody is capable of doing everything all at once. Everybody's different. Everybody's a special snowflake, as I like to say. So really just try and take some inventory, maybe start a journal and try and learn yourself and learn what you are personally capable of, and don't overdo it, because in the long term it's going to end up hurting you. I mean, you think that you can do it all, but for how long? Eventually, like with me in photography, I loved doing it for years, but then I got burnt out and now I hardly shoot anymore. And of course I would love to get back to it, but that same passion and spark, it's just not the same. So whatever your life circumstances may be, I hope that these few strategies that I just shared with you will help you manage and hopefully even prevent your burnout.